Hello YouTube, this is Ezekiel doing an after action report in Combat Mission Battle for Normandy, doing part 2 of this first of this war correspondence file, looking at a major, about 12,000 point battle between Dutch Grenadier and Straswitz. Where we left off, the engagements had really begun, especially in the centre, as the American armour and the German mechanised forces started to clash. Meanwhile, on the right flank it was pretty damn quiet, and on the left the Germans definitely had the upper hand, and a long-range tank duel was imminent, sorry, wrong word. Anyway, long day. I won't go through where everything is in detail like I do some of my own after-action reports. We'll be here forever. Please go look at part 1 again if you need a bit of a refresher. I have actually gone forward and just looked at this German turn here, basically just to see how it started, and this is probably the most action-packed part of the turn right here, as Dutch's German forces run straight into American Germans. So, just take a look. So there we go, the first real surprise shot, and the half-track decides to retreat in quick order. Wherever you see between the buildings there, behind the smoke, the Sherman is coming after them. And probably a bit of a birthday present for the Sherman. 2 half tracks. There goes the first one. And the second one immediately decides to pull back. As the rest of the mechanised forces rush forward. Looks like the crew, they bail out of this one, just as the turn comes to an end. But they're already taken one casualty. So this centre is, I think it's a bit of a, if I was Dutch I'd be a little bit shocked. I'm expecting to see American Shermans right on the, near the objective so soon. That was definitely a move by Straswitz. So I think the next few turns we might see Dutch reassess this and probably pull some more forces in. Sorry, I just forgot he also lost a truck back here, but I don't think there was anything really in it. Maybe the driver got out there. So he has still got some forces coming up here, that's for sure. But they're still quite a well away from the objective. He's only really got that one platoon that's lost a few. Is it one or probably 1.5 reinforced? Is it? I'm not too sure. Yeah, but that's the only forces he's got forward, and very little that can take on multiple Shermans. Has got a lot of support down here though, he may have to redirect. Over here in Lamont, there's non-eventful, he's moved right up into the town, and he's also got line of sight on a couple of Shermans back here and a tank destroyer in M10, so he's definitely aware that that's probably a very dangerous position in here. The other, and I said it before, the right flank, nothing really changed there for the Germans. On the left flank, it's a different matter. Not a lot of action, you could say, but we get our first of our long-range tank duel. As you can see here, the Germans for the first time this left flank spot an M10, and also I believe it was from, oh no, so it's from the guys in the village. But you will see that the Tigers do actually spot it. There we go. The Tigers spot the M10 racing across the wheat field and the hill at the back. Now, Dutch obviously didn't have any cover arcs to keep these guys silent, but that's a mistake or on purpose, we don't know. And sure enough, they start taking pot shots, so definitely getting away their position. Just remember, what Dutch doesn't know is already got this area is already targeted for an Allied airstrike soon, so those mighty 88 guns booming. So at the very least here, Dutch would know that the Americans are aware of his target position by now, where before it would have been an all-out surprise or so. So anyway, that's where we're up to. As you can see, the Germans at the front here, they're sitting back along this hedge, and some forces moving up in the extreme left of the board edge. We've got some forces poking their way into the village here. It's not an objective, this village, so it's more a good place to hold a left flank, but Yeah, Dutch can definitely spot German armour right across this map now, right from the centre, right through to the left. It's only really the right that's now empty. Anyway, I'll leave you here and we'll see you with the Americans real soon. Okay then, welcome back. We're now with the Americans on that same turn. And we'll follow in the centre now as they take out those half-tracks, or at least take out the one half-track, I should say. So it looks like it was a 76mm shooting at the half-track. That's definitely overkill for a half-track. And as you can see, while that's going on, there it goes. It looks like I went straight through it too, actually. But as you can see, the Americans really have this objective. They've got tanks really laying down the hurt long range on the left flank there of the village. Meanwhile, the infantry, they've got what's that, about half a company, or at least a reinforced platoon of really settling in on the buildings. Probably going to set up some heavy machine guns, maybe. So that's going to be very hard for the Germans to dislodge. Meanwhile, on this right flank, those Shermans, platoon of Shermans just below this ridgeline, still aren't spotted by the Germans, if you remember. But the M10s at the back are. What's happening there? There we go. So they're still creeping forward, not even a sound contact from the Germans yet. So they could really, probably going to hold back. I mean, as in, you know, he's got Tigers overlooking the battlefield on this flank. So that's got to be the priority. But yeah, if those Tigers disappear and those Shermans get across this ridgeline and have some fun with those half tracks, that's going to be very deadly for the Germans. Here goes our M10. Let's get down to ground eye level. Oh, that last one was a bit of a close one, straight behind it. Okay. Still, actually, it looks like they took some fire up here. I missed that before. They lose something, did they? We'll go back and check that out. Oh, yeah, looks like they lost an M10. Missed that completely from the German side, if that's true. Oh, yeah, they did too. Look at that. So the Americans lose their first major armour piece. A tank destroyer of all things, which could come in real handy for long-range firefights with the Panzer IVs back there. But there's still plenty of Shermans around, that is for sure. And from the American point of view, they know there's Germans over here, but looks like it's going to be more just observe, 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 and just hope they don't actually do anything major. So yeah, as suspected at the beginning of this series, the fight has really opened up on this flank here and in the centre. I expect that's where it's going to continue. So I'll see you for the next turn, back with the Germans. Okay, we're back with the Germans again for the following turn. As you can see here, half-track decides to go one way and the infantry decides to join up the rest of the platoon. Now they lose a soldier here to Sherman machine gun fire. That's probably still the best move. You don't want this one squad hanging out by itself without support, especially when there's armour around. And Dutch probably has to guess there has to be American infantry in here by now. So he very wisely moves back behind these buildings, not getting engaged in a firefight until he knows the strength of the enemy and where they are. And he's seeing Shermans running all around the back line here, so pretty good move. Play it cautious just for the moment. Meanwhile here, that's what I'll show you next actually. We just back up here. Oop, just from the start of the turn again. On this right flank he's decided to move up get some support in there. Could be going for these buildings up here, try and flank the enemy. It's a very long bit of open ground to get across though. And unfortunately, in the span of a couple of seconds, he loses a Panzer IV and also an Opel Blitz truck, but more importantly, all the infantry inside loses. So you still got the main guns, but you lose a lot of crew from those guns. That's really twice now he's lost a bit of squad from a truck kill. At least here, looks like those infantry are getting across, so he may have a presence up in these buildings next turn. That's another major blow, though. And what's going on over there is what I'll show you now, but it really highlights a point, and really does highlight the problems of fighting in 1944 for the Germans. You always think of the German army as a massive mechanised force. In reality, it really wasn't. They definitely had these really great divisions, but you've got to remember they had a terrible lot of horse-drawn infantry weapons as well. So, but anyway, this is the mechanised force. And we know the Sherman's hanging around behind here. He's now, at the beginning of the turn, he's now spotted the first Sherman retreating in there, so he knows his Sherman's there. And unfortunately, looks like we've got at least a platoon of armoured infantry here racing towards directly to those Sherman guns. So a bit of bad luck there for Dutch. As I was saying, as you can see, these mechanised forces, he's lost half tracks already. In 1944, with 75mm guns being the mainstay of the Allied forces. And here's the inevitable, I think. Goodbye. Is basically that. Is half tracks were now next to useless against the main when they come up against armour. Earlier in the war, I mean, you had 20mm guns and that, you had a fighting chance, I guess, but not against the cruiser or the medium battle tanks anymore. They were dominating the battlefield. So that's the problem with armoured warfare this late in the game, and also why a mid-war or an early war combat mission game could get really interesting. Anyway, that's the major involvement changes, this turn for the Germans. I think we'll switch over to the Americans. And as we get going on the Americans here, we'll follow on by looking at Lamont again, where a lot of that combat is currently taking place. And we also get pretty much confirmation early on, at least, that all that hidden infantry is Americans still haven't spotted it, or even got a sound contact back there yet, so that's pretty damn good. And there's our Shermans opening up on those advancing forces on the left flank of the village here. Meanwhile, while still keeping out of range of those Tigers that are looking across the battlefield, the Shermans start having fun with the German half tracks. That's actually multiple Shermans, I think, actually. Or is that the half track? Yep, and I think that's also the half track. But it's 50 cal. There you go. So definitely a good defensive position behind this ridge here, well hidden from the Germans. But I expect the Germans will be retreating very quickly from that Sherman. What else is there over here? Oh, hello. What's this? Keep forgetting this side here. Looks like there's still a decent tank engagement going on, or at least a long-range firefight. So let's have a look at this. So looks like they lost their commander to sniper fire or something, and we're seeing another M10 remaining M10 race across this field here. Looks like he's trying to get these M10s across to counter the Tigers. Or maybe not. Good thing about watching this blind and just to surprise everyone else. But we have... that did take a hit from somewhere. Looks like... yep, there goes another 76mm Sherman. Looks like from the Panzer IV back there. It's also a platoon leader as well, isn't it? Sure is. That tank doesn't look... it's only dismounted, it's not destroyed, and that Panzer IV probably doesn't realise that it's dismounted, so he'll still keep firing as we get a ricochet. It explodes in the trees. And explodes in the trees and kills one of the crew. There's a lot of bad luck this time for Stratswitz. Let's double check that. There's the ricochet. Shell. Bang. So definitely a bit of bad luck there. But there's still, and once again that left flank, no real change. But there's a terrible lot of infantry back here. Another whole lot of infantry racing up towards La Bignette. So Americans have Lamont, Germans have La Bignette, and by the looks of it, the American player Stratswitz here knows the Germans have got it with tanks and infantry. So he's probably going to really try and make sure he's got a good amount of force before he launches any type of assault here. Especially with tanks. He's got most of his tanks now over on the right flank, and he's lost a few tanks here. Maybe he'll just try and hold this area and just focus on this side first before any type of main effort here. And once again, of course, the left flank looking very, very vacant. So the battle could be, at this really early stage, a battle could be decided here on this left flank, because we know the Dutch is trying to mop up this left flank first before he moves into the centre seriously. So we'll have to see how it plays out. Back to the Germans. Okay, back with the Germans now, with that dead half-track, and as you can see, the remaining survivors are trying to flee. I do notice that Dutch here, he hasn't giving up, he's not pulling all these half-tracks back. He must still think there's only the one Sherman floating around back here. So being very, very brave with these light armoured vehicles, that's for sure. Not much happens on this left flank for the next turn here. Where the action does start taking place is, as you can probably see by the flashing icons, is over here in La Bignette. So just go back. We've basically got an infantry push that doesn't really go all that well. So it looks like we've got one squad here broken down into individual teams. Immediately come under fire from the American infantry we know are setting up in here. And they walk straight into a Sherman. Two Shermans, actually. So a little bit of bad luck again for Dutch there. Meanwhile, poor Hans there, he's not having a good day. Looks like he's stuck on his buddy's corpse, actually. Oh, and a Sherman puts him out of his misery, so not too good. It's not all bad news, though. We just pull back a bit here. We see the rest of the platoon over here, once again all split up into individual teams. Move slowly into these line of houses. I guess you could probably call them blockhouses. And anyway, they immediately do get some payback. They immediately spot an American team. And at close range with their MP40s and MG42s really do some damage here. So probably not as bad as over there, but looks like the American team was taken out. It just goes to show the strength of the German small arms. Also over here, what's probably obscured from Stratswich's view is this flanking force of infantry. Whether Dutch decides to actually use it or not, we'll have to wait and see, considering he knows now he's got 2 Shermans, probably 3, eyeing off these buildings, so they won't really last that long. But yeah, if he goes in there and creeps in there, he could really be a nice line of sight giver for this side of the tree line over here, and see anything coming around this right flank towards this objective. Over on Lamont, it's a different story again. It's the Germans have it locked down pretty tight. And they are giving away their position with some long-range MP44 and MG42 fire, taking some pot shots and some distant infantry, I should say. So probably a prime target for a American artillery barrage right about now. So we'll see what happens. What we do know from the American side, they're probably not going to be pushing here. I mean, especially now they know there's at least an infantry lining these buildings. Would be suicide trying to charge across that. So it looks like the fight for yeah, me and the French. La Bignette is going to be the probably the real focus point in the very near future. And once again over here, very little. The Germans spot the Jeep, but don't think anything's really too worrisome for them here. They probably realise by now they've got the entire flank to themselves. So anyway, we'll go back and watch that from the American side. Okay, just with the Americans now. And as we can see, this is where all the action took place. The rifle guys are up here. They're the ones taking the pot shots, the guys crossing the street. Oh, what's interesting though, what gave away this team's position to these Germans being in here was that rifle grenade. Meanwhile there's the Germans getting ambushed as they turn around the corner. But yeah, that's another good example of, well, I don't know what Stratswich's ideas were here, but the infantry will always take that pot shot where they think they can. So always use those nice closed cover arcs if you don't want them to fire at distant targets. I mean, that soldier there obviously thought he could take a pot shot at a half track back here. And 3 of his buddies paid the price, unfortunately, and himself, I think. Yep, and himself. But looking from the American side here, it's a little bit different. I thought he had this a strong position, but he is broken up into very small teams covering here. I mean, if we know it's not really possible, but the Germans push now in force. I mean, they could probably overrun these teams, especially at close quarters, building to building, with their higher proportion of MGs and SMGs. So very, very interesting. Meanwhile, over here, it looks pretty obvious that to the Americans that the Germans have this area locked down pretty good. So it looks like they're just all sitting there spotting. Troops are really dispersed, broken up. I mean, that's just one platoon by the looks of it. Yep. So they're all broken up, expecting a probably a mortar barrage or something. Meanwhile, one thing I did notice as well was over here. Okay. I noticed when I was reviewing the German files, this tank constantly took fire like that. And it did look dismounted without a tank commander and the cupola open there. Sure enough, yeah, they have actually dismounted the Sherman. Oh, it's one of the 76s too, actually, so that could have come in handy if those Tigers play a nuisance later on. So it looks like they started off dismounted. Okay, they immediately took a casualty as soon as they got out. So another Sherman down. And that looks about it for this turn. We'll switch back over to the Germans. Okay, back to the next turn, and with the Germans again. We see, whoop, well, I was wrong. Dutch does decide to move his Germans into these buildings, breaks them up into teams, and immediately gets good eyes on to the tanks hiding in the woodlands. Meanwhile, this tank is shooting at something. Shooting at this barn by the looks of it. Meanwhile, we're taking a few little infantry casualties over here. Where that came from. That's a funny one. Oh, and there's an aeroplane. Okay, looks like we had someone trying to race down the main street here. So that's interesting. We'll just back up to the start, see what happened over here. Maybe the Americans were probing, see where the German positions were, and sure, they immediately come out of the building and immediately get spotted. Oh wow, it's a squad actually. So the Americans are making a push, even though I thought they were a little bit stretched on the ground there. There's the casualty, and the other two make it into the stone house. And it looks like they spotted some Germans in this area here. Immediately take a casualties. I think, yeah, there's something going on in there. Maybe the Americans moved into this house. And we'll just back it up, because I think... Yeah, okay, so that's the other thing that happened. We got little Panzer II Lynx. Used as scouting tanks by this stage of the war, and severely outclassed by pretty much everything. You know, the Panzer IIs were around since 39. So it looks like it's been hunting. Oh, and immediately goes toe-to-toe with a 76mm armed Sherman. So a little bit adventurous. Got that 20mm. Oh, yep, 20mm versus 76mm. Meanwhile, over here, they're still taking pot shots and infantry from this. This village in here of Lamont, and looks like they've pushed up. They actually are. They're occupying all these front buildings too, so they'll definitely have good warning now about anything that's advancing over this open ground. One final thing I did notice as well is on this far left flank, one of the Tigers has left its position and has raced pretty damn fast down to. Looks like it's going after that Sherman, or doesn't really realise probably a whole platoon of Shermans in there. It's still pretty adventurous for one Tiger, but at this stage we don't know how many Tigers Dutch does suspect there is in there. We know it's 5, but he may only think it's still the 1. So he's obviously not willing to put his half-tracks into the game just yet. Not to go toe-to-toe with Shermans, which I don't blame him. But anyway, we'll switch over back to the Americans and see you then. Okay, back with the Americans, and what's interesting here is straight away he's doing that little scouting move forward. And there he gets spotting the Lynx. that's something we didn't really pick up from the German side. He actually lost 2 men here, not just the one. So only one of the scouts made it. That just shows how quickly those Germans can react. And probably that's also probably some of the advantages taking the crack troops that Dutch did. Can react very quickly. There we go. May just back it up here. Just want to see that 20mm hit. Oh, getting a shader issue there. Just want to back it up, see what happens with this Sherman, see what type of damage it takes when all those 20mm rounds hit into it. There we go. and that's poor American running straight in front. So the 20mm rounds, there they are. Okay. So took it out really good, but you see down here, something also to keep in mind when you're versing all the new anti-air vehicles that have been introduced in the game with the Gustav line expansion. They do damage. Yes, they probably won't knock it out. It takes a hell of a lot of fire to knock a vehicle out with just 20mm ammo, but optics especially, I've noticed, optics will definitely get damaged over time. That was only one salvo, but yeah, they get line of sight or a good ambush and get a good 4 or 5 off. You could really be blind very quickly, not to mention losing your radios and other parts of your equipment there. So yeah, don't ever think that 20mm gun ain't going to hurt you. Over on the right flank, I'll just back it up. One thing I did not see initially was this. Sherman takes out another half-track. Just one of the infantry carriers by the looks of it with a machine gun. Still another vehicle blow for Dutch. And what's interesting here is they are actually spotting that Tiger racing down from that tree line. So they're watching him all the way down. Let's just see if you can see that. Oh, okay, it's these guys back here. So these guys back here can see that high ground. They're watching him all the way. Yep, thanks guys. So that's good intel. Definitely good intel, good eyes on. A bit of a leg up over Dutch in that respect. He's seeing all the movements on this right flank. And sure enough, with that aircraft coming in, probably going to wreak some havoc in the next few turns or so. If I was Strat Switcher, it wouldn't be too disappointed that tank's moving, because there's still, there's still 2 Tigers in the aircraft kill zone. The aircraft just has to be able to spot them under the trees at the moment. Meanwhile, over here, I don't think anything serious has really happened. So I've got some smoke for some reason. And for the looks of it, he's very, very happy to sit still and overlook this objective rather than going for it, which is a very, very smart move. Just full forward. Let's just have a look now in the following turns where all our artillery missions are. Okay. So sure enough, the aircraft. If I can find the. There we go. Sure enough, the aircraft is still coming in on that perfect kill zone. No issues there. A whole lot of mortars aren't ready, not positioned, which seems funny considering they're not really moving anymore. I thought they'd be deployed right about now. Oh, sorry, one's not positioned, they're out of contact, so there's no radio near them. That's definitely something to be wary of with on-map mortars. They can be out of radio contact very quickly. Yeah, a whole lot of them actually, so it looks like most of them. And oh, that's interesting. By the looks of it, he's saving his howitzers. And we've got the one big howitzer still 7 minutes away. Originally delayed for 15 minutes though. So that will come in 7 minutes along that line. Not really going to hit anything at this stage. So yeah, not a lot of artillery action on the American side. We'll see if that changes with the Germans. Okay, we're back with the Germans, and thought I would start off with a bit of a close combat engagement. We don't really take a chance to actually look at many of these in usual video ARs, or also just when you're playing the game. This is just one of the German teams occupying one of the buildings in, I believe it's Le Mont. Firing at some of the Americans that are going to pop up there, one of those scouting teams. And as you can see, this is probably a clear example of why the German small arms are firstly so dependent on the MG42, but also incredibly deadly at close range. Saying that, I don't think we're actually going to see any casualties at all. So very, very hard to... there we go. Very, very hard to actually see... oh, sorry, it's a big net. Anyway, I'll get these names done eventually. I'll remember them eventually, but anyway. The reason I'm showing that is because it's probably the most exciting thing that happened this turn. Everything else is really sort of sitting still. Had a few movements here, but not really anything too major. Meanwhile, on this flank, it looks like the Tiger's still moving down. And sure enough, it's going over here. Maybe he's trying to get around these Shermans or something. We'll have to wait and see for that one. So he's definitely can spot one Sherman in there. But as we know, the Stratswitz and the Americans here, they definitely have the best intelligence on this flank. What's interesting is, we know where what the aeroplane's targeting for, but looks like Dutch isn't too scared. Not many tanks have moved by the looks of it, which would be your obvious target for an aircraft strike. So we'll have to wait and see what he has planned there. Actually, forgot, we're going to look at the artillery. So let's have a look here. We've got this guy up here with the Tigers. He's bringing in some 81mm mortars. And they're going to both land by the looks of it. Okay, one of them, they're going to, yeah, it looks like, so it looks like 3 actually. Oh no, just 2. Looks like we've got a big cluster of mortars and probably heavy artillery as well. Yeah, 120mm mortars, all falling on this area. So if that's going to be interesting to see. I mean, this one here is a little bit too large probably, based on what we know. But that could be very deadly for the Americans, that is, of course. Assuming it does fall on target. And once again, oh, there's the big one. Sorry, which one's that one then? Okay, so he's got 120mm mortars and 105mm howitzers. But everything's falling on this little intersection up here. So that's why we're not going to see these Germans push forward any further. Some people probably consider them too close as it is. That's some very big blast radiuses, those ones. 7 minutes there. Busy, immediate, that one. So, and these are immediate. So we're going to see some mortars come down very soon on this area, and then 7 minutes later, if the mission stays, we'll see 105mm howitzers also blast this area. So it looks like Dutch is not going to push anywhere anytime soon. He's going to let the mortars and the howitzers do the work there. Okay, we'll switch over to the Americans now. Okay, back with the Americans, and one thing to spot here, this is that little firefight. I want you to watch this thing here. This just shows the difference in quality of troops. Even though these guys are veterans, remember the Germans were cracked. The Germans keep up the fire all the way through the term, but the Americans get pinned very quickly within a good 20 seconds or so, and these are veteran troops, so yeah, so that's why the fire dies down from the American side. Luckily for the Americans, the Germans have nothing really to flank and kill the enemy. Meanwhile, over here, looks like we had some movement. It's spotted and immediately fired by one of the Tigers by the looks of it. Of course, the tree gets in the way. Always the tree. And looks like another whole platoon of armoured infantry moving up straight into that artillery kill zone we spotted last turn. Meanwhile, over here, little movement over here, but we do have one tank. That smoke came up late last turn, probably from this tank destroyer actually. Does it have smoke? Yep. So it's basically just concealing this movement. Looks like he's got into position, and as you can, he knows there's two Panzer IVs over here. So that's getting into position with a cover arc just to see if they can spot those Panzer IVs from a hull down position here behind this little the hill, and also between the trees. So probably take some time to spot, but very good position for a tank destroyer in my opinion. Other than that, looks like we've got some minor movement here. What's this? This is that destroyed tank destroyer. All the mortars are still back here. Not deployed still. So maybe he's planning to move them forward really soon. We'll have to wait and see. I'll just double check those orders again. Yep, everything's still... Yep, nothing really changed there. So... Anyway, that's a very uneventful turn, but we will switch back to the Germans. Okay, we're back with the Germans. Firefight continues. And we're sort of starting to get some Shermans to pull back here. As I think it's the spotting rounds start coming in from those off-map mortars. The 81 mils. So the Americans in here, they've got some good warning now that some hurt's really going to start coming down in this area. Oh, we don't know what this tank's doing. I think it's pathfinding gone nuts, but luckily for him there's well, some Shreks back here, but so it's still pretty safe for now. There was some activity over on this left flank of Dutch's. We've got a half track here, which gets blown up. It's definitely killed for the count. And takes out a few more of the crew. I think the commander does, so yeah, commander survives, but so the Aflanks, I'm hopeless at German as well, if you haven't picked up from my videos already. But really scouting out over here, but they almost lost their commander. Very, very light on. Oh, hello. What's this? Missed that. We've got a penetration. You have to look at that closely. I missed that when I was watching my first little playthrough off camera. But anyway, we've got some infantry over here really scouting this extreme left. Dutch does now know there's at least three tank hunters down here. Two of them have backed off this turn slightly. But we'll have to really see what's going on over there. It also looks like we've got a casualty here with the infantry. Some more of the probing infantry here. Let's have a look what happened. So, okay, so they're just creeping into the woods right next to that Sherman platoon here. So, yep, no wonder they took a casualty. Quite lucky when you think about it. The question is, what hurt this Tiger? And what type of damage did it take? So it's obviously not going for the Shermans back here that I thought it was. Looks like I was trying to get some flanking shots, any Shermans that in the centre area that decides to come around. Okay, so it takes a hit in the side there. So there's one of the Shermans in these trees here. Was that over there, was it? Oh wow, actually, yeah, it's back behind. So it's probably the same Sherman platoon that's been killing half-tracks. Yep, from over there. So very lucky he didn't get the engine block there. Some minor damage to the radio optics and tracks though. And that decides to flee very, very truly. So it'll be very interesting to see that from the American side. Was it that 76mm that actually took the shot? Oh, was it 276mm over here? So they can definitely hurt a Tiger. So we'll switch over to the Americans and see what did the shooting. Okay, from the Americans this time, as we can see from before, great intelligence over here where those locations of those Tigers are. Knows there's a Tiger racing that way. There goes that half track. So let's see what happens over here when that Sherman comes back into view. Sorry, when that Tiger comes back into view, of course. So there's the Tiger. Infantry spots it. Okay, so it's a 76mm. So it's... Oh wow, okay. So it took 2 hits, 2 shots from 2 76mm Shermans. So it's very lucky to be alive, to tell you the truth. Side and side rear hits there. That Sherman looks like it had orders to reverse, get off the crest of this little ridge here with a pause order. So quite lucky that in that respect. I don't think that was planned. But it takes a shot, then it starts its reverse and also kills that one trooper, one scout trooper in there that was crawling forward. Still Shermans hiding in these trees back here. Looks like I've got quite a few actually. Yeah, we've got 3 76mm Shermans, and I didn't realise that before. 3 76mm and 2 75mm. So those plus the tank hunters, yeah, I'd be a little bit worried actually if I only had 3 Tigers and I knew that. Most of those guns can hurt those Tigers. We'll just quickly have a look now what was happening in the centre here. From the American point of view. See if those mortars did any damage. I think they're only spotting rounds, but so I doubt it. Finally get a casualty in that little firefight. Another 76mm Sherman. Actually, there are a lot of 76mm Shermans on this map. So let's go use half-tracks racing through the trees for cover. Getting a little bit too close there for comfort, probably. And I think that's about all. So with some mortars about to come down here, and we've also got a very lucky Tiger tank over there. I think it's probably a good spot just to leave this part 2. I'll keep recording and get part 3 up as quick as possible. But like, subscribe, leave comments below. Any thoughts on how this battle's progressing? It'd be good to hear from you. Thanks for watching everyone, and I'll see you next time.